We took a short break because we ran out of videotape. And we are reading you the atrocity that came from Kenneth W. Rudolph and McCabe and Lippman, Jonathan Lippman, Three Stooges on the term Supreme Court of the State of New York, 9th and 10th Judicial District, in the lawsuit Glendora versus Eacock. Eacock gave her word that she would renew as signer for the Peekskill Cablevision system at Chatwith Glendora, and then she went back on it. It was a clear breach of contract. Anybody could see that, but Lippman and Rudolph and McCabe chose to turn their back on decency and on the law and on New York State and on the United States of America. And I am excoriating their paper written by a dumb law clerk. So when Glendora said, "Will you renew?" that was an offer. And when Eacock said yes, that was acceptance. There was a meeting of the minds, folks, and this is a contract. Now in New York State, an oral contract is as valid as a written contract. And this is another failure of the illiteracy of Jonathan Lippman, Kenneth Rudolph, and McCabe. They can't read a caption. They can't get a caption straight. How do you expect them to read a lawsuit, and how do you expect them to apply the law? They can't even read it. We have already established that they cannot read. Omicron. Lawless law clerk writes, and there was no allegation of any terms of the alleged agreement. And Glendora says, this is your 11th misrepresentation, which is a polite word for lie. Let's try again. Will you renew? Yes. And she did not. Terms prima facie. Nothing could be simpler. And you have to fail at that, just the way you have failed at writing a caption or reading a caption. Pi, you have been told indisputably that no consideration is allowed in public access TV. It is against the law. But you are the last to be initiated in the law. Toman said the lack of consideration is not fatal. Deborah Eacock said herself that the consideration was a chance to help somebody. Roll. Ghostwriter law clerk writes, it is axiomatic that an agreement must be definite in its material terms to be enforceable as a contract. Glendora says, how you strain and stretch. We shudder in horror. Glendora to Deborah, will you renew? Deborah to Glendora, yes. Glendora, will you renew? That's the offer. Deborah, yes. That's the agreement. The offer was made, the offer was accepted. What terms were asked? How does this make the three of you judges and you two puppet rationalizers look? Meaning the law clerks. Sigma. And the ghostwriter law clerk writes, and the alleged agreement does not come close to what's that say? The meaning to meeting this test. You see how this is all dictum? This is all conclusory. It's all conclusory. How many times do I have to tell them? Another 200 times? Will you renew? Yes. But you see, their malice, their viciousness, their spite has got to make them lie and get around everything. And it's a reductio ad absurdum. You stated no premise, your premise falls, your argument failed. You have said nothing, I'm telling these law clerks and these three judges. Talk. And now they spit out, these computer spit outs of these dumb, bad decisions by other bad judges. They mean nothing. They don't have a law to quote, and they don't know the law, so they spit out these computer things, and they don't tell you how they apply. Glendora says, all of these computer spit outs about other cases are not law. Why don't they quote the law? Because the law's on my side. Glendora says this is not a law, this is just another bad eject from another bad judge, another computer spit out, washed out by as many pros as cons. Upsilon, what law have you cited? The answer is none. Phi, there cannot be said to have been a meeting of the minds on the terms of any agreement at any point. And then another computer spit up. When you say to Deborah, will you renew? She says yes. That's a meeting of the minds. You go from lie to dictum. Prove it. Where is the law? Where are your facts? This again is a sight dull as dishwater. You have not met your burden. And then they say, as to plaintiffs, cross motion for sanctions against defendant, we note that rules of the chief administrator does not apply to the justice court. Well, did the chief administrator say that there were no sanctions allowed? No. So what do we got here? Another washout. Another dull as dishwater. They don't quote a law anywhere. Justice court or to the small claims part of any court, and sanctions are therefore unavailable. That's mere dictum. And besides, the laws don't say that. But if they wanted to impose sanctions, they would do it. And they would make believe that the law said that. They push it any way they want. Just because they're dirty, what they're doing is treason, what they're doing is ruining the United States. A country is no good. A country has no backbone if it doesn't have courts. They've ruined the courts. We don't have courts. Glendora says this is another conclusory. You prove it. You do not know anything about the law. And we're up to page 20. And here's what I say about their paper. It shows no aptitude, no capability, no capacity, no competence, no caliber, no efficiency, no force, no faculty. It shows no proficiency, no qualification, no skills, no sufficiency, no strength, and no talent. And I'm saying this to you, Kenneth W. Rudolph and McCabe and Jonathan Lippman. The three judges and the two abettors abducted surreptitiously and by force the truth. They abducted the truth. And they have been caught. And what did they evoke? They evoked horror and detestation. And we taxpayers are fed up with the courts. These people getting $130,000 a year for this kind of rot. And then the law clerks getting something like $70,000 a year. And so here is their computer spit out about this great case that stood up for standing up with your word. They left out plaintiff up here, they left out defendant down there. And here are their names: Edward G. McCabe, Jonathan Littman, Kenneth W. Rudolph. And they're all three failures to our nation. It was argued on December the 6th. Now I'm going to make some points about that. Ordered and adjudged. It was not adjudged for the reasons that I pointed out earlier. It wasn't ever signed. It was not adjudged. And here's a clerk down here who can't even sign her signature either. They think they're going to get away with this, folks. Well, they are not. These are the people's courts, and we are entitled to justice. And we're entitled to people who can read. And we're entitled to people who know enough to sign their name. Glendora wants her money back and her costs. You have committed rank consumer fraud. You are advertised as a court of justice. You hook people in on that. And then when you get us in there, you double-cross us. You knew very well that you were going to rob Glendora of justice. Yet you deliberately, willfully, and knowingly let her go through hundreds of hours of work, hundreds of dollars of postage, print, and costs, and hundreds of miles of travel, up at 3 a.m. to get to court by 9 a.m., and you did all this under false pretenses. This is fraud, as delineated herein. You have committed fraud to the 10th power, and for years you have done this. Your entire career. Now, infer is precisely what you have committed. And this is the definition of fraud. An intentional perversion of truth for the purpose of inducing another in reliance upon same to part, go this slowly so it won't get you dizzy, part with something, some valuable thing belonging to him, or to surrender a legal right. How many times has this happened to you? This is the whole definition for fraud. And this is what these people have done. And what are your names again? Littman, Rudolph, and McCabe. And what is your court? The Supreme Court, so-called, of the state of New York, the appellate term, 9th and 10th Judicial District. Glendora wants her fees refunded. She wants a cost of way over $5,000. The damages far exceed $5,000. And you are liable. And this includes the reprobate lawless courts. You knew in advance that you were going to slither around the law and the facts and give the plum to your fellow slimy, evil doers. All fraud judges will be defendants, plus Angelillo, who, for his crookedness, was upped to the more crooked appellate division. Appellate division hears cases from the county court. The appellate term hears cases from the municipal courts. And both law clerks who sat in the jury box and caved into your odious commands, souls sold. Souls sold. The $130 circa you receive a year is also fraudulent, along with the court $70,000 circa a year. And add to this the rent, the construction, and the maintenance that you cost us citizens in sales tax, in RICO, vehicle and traffic fines, loathsome judgments against small people and small corporations who expected justice from you, never the larger ones who paid you off repetitively. We're on page 27. Gamma. Glendora has to decide where to sue you. I can sue them in small claims for the damages they cost, but the monetary jurisdiction on that is either $3,000 or $5,000. I could sue them in Supreme Court, Supreme Less Court, or I could sue them in the Judith K. Court up in Albany, 33 miles north of here, or I could sue them in the federal court. I could sue them in district court, or even appeals, or Supreme. It could be an original action in any of those, in the district court, in the circuit court, the appeals court, or in the Supreme Court of the United States, because it's a constitutional issue. Constitutional issues are all involved. You have no oath. You admitted that in Goshen Court. You are not a court of record. You admitted that in Goshen Court. But Glendora has a record. She has witnesses who went to court with her. Delta. Next is to find out how to make a claim against your bond. If you did violate that law, what is the amount of your judicial bond? And where is it? And who is the insurer? You circumvented the law as to your oath, as to a court of record, as to writing legal papers, totally illegal. You can pay your damages to Glendora in 2 months, March the 17th, 2007, Anno Domini, St. Patrick's Day, or you can go to court and lie like Kelly, who died lying. Sarok, Eacock, Masterilli, Foch, Lane, Peter Lane and Rye, Charles F. Dolan through Angelotti. Whichever you do, whatever you do, is res ipsa loquitur. Things speak for themselves. Your record speaks for itself on TV and on the World Wide Web in 2 places, YouTube and chatwithglendora.com. Are you the mob? You act as though you are controlled by the mob. Or are you bossed by the international bankers? Or is it both? Page 29. If you pay it, you will be doing the first honorable thing I have known you to do. To me, you are not, quote, your honor, unquote. How can you spend the precious life God has given you in deceit, deception, dishonor, and utter laxity of morals, and deliberate deviation from what is right, rational, and normal? How can you look us in the eye in the expensive courtrooms we provide you and continue the sham, the hoax, the scam, year after year? They look you in the eye, knowing fully well they're going to double-cross you. You know what it is, folks? It is, in fraud we trust. We're talking about Glendora versus Eacock, where Eacock breached a contract, and where Stephen Toman countenanced for improper influence. It has to be improper influence. No man in his right heart would ever do what Stephen Toman did. And then we appealed it, and now we have triplet: Rudolph, Lippman, and McKay. Glendora's witnesses: David, Judy, Mary, Brad, Frank, Patrick. I had all those people in court with me. They were John Q. Public. They extolled the December 6th oral argument that Glendora had made, and they said Glendora was excellent and confidently expected a great victory. Well, it didn't happen. Your farce sucked them in, and they were right. Glendora did present the truth, and did show the breach of contract, and did show the law, and did show the facts, and you very well know this. Beyond their introspection is your fraud, your cheat, your thievery. It's news to them. And such a thing is incomprehensible to them, because that's not what you were taught in physics class. In civics class, were you? Glendora delineates daily to John Q. Public in America and over the world the ugly truth, the way it is. Are you going to die like Caligari, unredeemed? And you are through at 70. All New York judges have to retire at 70. There are no extensions. New York State judges have to retire at 70. And that is not a long time to wait. We got out in the middle of the night, and we set forth on these long journeys, and as each time that you knew you would knife us, they knew it. I don't see how they stand themselves, folks. It is Dorian Gray. Does it get much worse? Yes, the appellate division is worse than the appellate term. And we are up to page 31. I don't know what program this is. It's somewhere in the neighborhood of 4,515 or 16. But it's time for jokes. If the kitty cats haven't taken away jokes. The man walked into the restaurant and he said, "Is the chef in?" And the waitress says, "No, he went out to eat." The policeman said to the little boy, "Are you related to the family next door?" And the little boy said, "Yes, their dog is our dog's brother." The teacher said, "Name something of significance that did not exist 100 years ago." And the girl said, "Me." "Waiter, this coffee tastes like mud." "Yes, sir. Just a few minutes ago it was ground." Why do judges stand on their head? So they can turn things over in their minds. "Billy, the piano teacher is going to be here in 15 minutes. Did you wash your hands and face?" "Yes." "Did you wash your ears?" "Yes, I washed the one next to her." What is the plural of mouse? Mice. What is the plural of goose? Geese. What is the plural of babies? And the little girl said, "Twins." Did you hear about the couple who had identical twin girls and they named them Kate and Duplicate? "Bobby, if I gave you 3 pencils today and 4 pencils tomorrow, how many pencils would you have?" And Bobby said 8. The teacher was aghast, and he said, "I already have a pencil." What were the Poles doing in Russia in 1940? What were the Poles doing in Russia in 1940? Holding up the telephone wires. What do you call a sailor who is married and has 7 children? Hawk. 3-course dinner. It consisted of 1 French fry, 1 pea, and 1 green bean. How much is 2 and 2? 4. Good. teacher said. And Bobby said to himself, good, that was perfect. Waiter, this plate is wet. That's not wet, sir, that's your soup. Joni, what are you doing? I'm writing to Priscilla. But Joni, no, you aren't old enough to write. And Joni says, yeah, but Priscilla isn't old enough to read either. You hear about the family, folks, that was so rich they bought a boy for the dog. I have a good hymn for you. Rejoice, ye pure in heart. Rejoice, give thanks and sing. Your festal banner rise on high. The cross of Christ your King. Rejoice, 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 rejoice. Rejoice, give thanks and sing. This is a simple case of breach of contract. Deborah Eacock in Garrison, New York. At the time she was in Peekskill. I asked her, will you renew? And she said yes. And then Cablevision poisoned her, and she changed her mind. So she breached the contract. And I sued her in the Phillipstown court. I had to, because that's where Garrison is. And we ran into another crooked judge named Stephen G. Taman. He failed all of us, America, the state of New York, our county, and he failed himself, and he failed justice. He was improperly influenced. That's got to be the answer. And so I appealed the case in the Supreme Court, State of New York, appellate term, 9th and 10th Judicial District. So the first bad actor was Eacock. The second was Callaghy, who is now dead, a liar for hire. The third bad actor was Stephen G. Taman. And then enter 5 more bad actors. And this is one person, up against like 9 crooks. And the other bad actors are Kenneth W. Rudolph, McCabe, Edward McCabe, and Jonathan Littman. They knew that they were double-crossing everybody, and they just went ahead and did it. And they put out an odious 4 papers of Dickam, of pablum. A 5th grader could have done better. And they didn't do it themselves. Of course, they had a ghostwriter do it. I am taking exception to these people. They have to stop it. They have demoralized and turned into powder our courts. And what is a country if it doesn't have courts? What is a country if it doesn't have courts? Because then it doesn't have law enforcement. And so, it's time to go after these crooks. And it's time to tell you about it. You people on the TV who watch it, and you people who watch it on the www.achatwithglendora.com, and you people who watch it on YouTube, the Chat with Glendora, one word. We are up to page 31, and you did not cite one law in your 4 Eacock pages. It was as debased as Toman's summary judgment. Toman doesn't know that you have to have a trial in small claims. That's stupid. He's a judge. He should know that. You cannot have a summary judgment. And the appellate term doesn't say a word about that. Not a word, because they know that that's the law. How long will it take you to learn summary judgments are forbidden in small claims? We sing about you when we say, a mighty fortress is our God, armed with cruel hate, that few people in the courts. And please look it up, and my cite for that is Martin Luther, A Mighty Fortress is Our God. There is a real cite for you. And when I sue you, I can have discovery, and I can see how much Callaghy and Satterley had to pay to get their odious cheats. Theta, theta, Jotha, you knew the evil you were doing. Not one of you had the courage to stand up for right. You are goners. I'm talking to you, McCabe, and Rudolph, and Littman. But I believe in miracles. You could make it one day. That is why I do not believe in euthanasia. Euthanasia. We are thine. We are thine, do thou befriend us. Be the guardian on our way. Keep from sin our thought. Do thou defend us. Seek us when we go astray.